that, because Paul is more an outfield player than a corner forward.
We have become used in this championship to both teams, both Derry and Dublin making selections and then playing an entirely different formation.
Well, the other way that possibly the Dublin selectors might consider is using Paul as the third midfielder, but I don't realise that there are any merit in that there, but it's possibly maybe to expose maybe the fact that Derry fullback is not the fastest man in the West.
Now, what would your prediction for this one be, Brian? Obviously, you'd like to see an Ulster team winning it. Reading the papers this morning, they're divided on which way they think this game might go, and really there should be little in it.
Well, I feel that Derry can cope with the atmosphere in the early part of the game and not let Dublin get too far away from them. I think, Michael, over the 70 minutes, maybe I'm an Ulster man and maybe I'm looking from inside a glass house, but I feel that Derry have the team to win it, because there's a very unsettled look in that Dublin forward line today, and I can't see the Dublin half forward line getting enough scores to beat Derry.
John Mahon, the Clare manager, in one of the newspapers this morning was on this point about whether they can cope with the atmosphere. He was saying it's what you make of it yourself. If you let it intimidate you, obviously it will, but if you think that the occasion is great and you go there to enjoy it, then you can cope.
We would have learned tremendously from John Mahon's Clare's situation last year, because they enjoyed the occasion, and when we prepared for the Dublin team in the All-Ireland final last year, we said we were going to enjoy the occasion as well as going out to win as well, and we ran at Dublin, we enjoyed the occasion, and it helped us to settle a lot quicker than we had anticipated settling.
Much has been made of the midfield battle between four very tall midfielders here this afternoon. Midfield is always a key area anyway in any football match.
Well, I had been looking forward to a battle between Jack Sheedy, who's playing very, very well for Dublin, and Tohal, but I gathered from Colin O'Rourke, speaking to him before the match here today, that Derry were going to play Brian McGilligan on Jack Sheedy, because they wanted to use Tohal for other things. So it's going to be very interesting. There'll be probably a bit of toing and throwing in the midfield area. But overall, I think Dublin will have the edge in the midfield sector.
Presumably the thinking there might be to use McGilligan to try and curtail Jack Sheedy, who's trying to run up and down the field a lot and feed very well with his backs.
Well, I would worry about that, because I would know Brian for some time, and whereas he's a great winter midfielder, I don't know about his capacity to play on a dry song.
some time ago, leaving the Dubs to continue their parade behind the Artane Boys band. Dublin, incidentally, won the toss, and they will play from left to right in the first half, and they'll be wind assisted. Dublin's vacancy at attack going to Paul Clark. The biggest injury worry centred on Dermot Deasy. He had an England hamstring injury, but he's been declared fit to start. Eamon Heary remains in the forward, selected on a line which includes Dessie Farrell and Pat Gilroy, but where they all play eventually is a matter for some conjecture. Derry make 3 changes from the side that began the Ulster final. Danny Quinn originally picked and then omitted for the Donegal match is back at full back, causing a restructuring of the defence. Seamus Downey and Joe Brolly form a new full forward line in the company of Enda Gormley. It's Brolly's first championship start of the season and Downey's first since last year's Ulster final. Dermot McNichol, incidentally, is among the Derry substitutes. He's numbered 24. Well, he handled one of the matches that Derry was involved in the Ulster Championship. Of course, he was last year's All-Ireland final referee as well. Tommy Sugru from Kerry. 60,000 people are there about at Croke Park. Pat Gilroy is on the 40. That's the first change we've noticed, but there are switches all around the place. Paul Clark, left half forward. Dessie Farrell here starting at right corner forward. The first attack, first shot, but it produces nothing. Essentially, it's Heary right half forward, Gilroy on the 40, Clark left half forward, then Farrell, Murphy and Redmond in the full forward line.
Yes, those changes would be expected. Charlie Redmond has done a lot of damage from left corner forward. I suppose it was always going to be where he'd start, and Dessie Farrell is much more suited to right corner forward.
Dublin with an abundance of midfield players. That's Paul Clark. Listing it down to another one who could play midfield, Gilroy. Bad ball. Well, we had 3 deafening ovations here at Croke Park in the last half an hour. One when Dublin came out, a much louder one when Derry made their grand entrance. And there was a third with the announcement of Sonia O'Sullivan's silver at Stuttgart. McGilligan finding Brolly. Just getting away from the quarterback Paddy Moran. Leading to Park. Gilligan coming through in determined fashion. 40 metres out, takes too many steps. And then just shaping up to Jack Sheedy over there. Well, we expect both teams to really thunder into one another in the opening 10 minutes. The softening up process in so many of these semi-finals. Keith Barr moving into the centre of Dublin's half-back line, linking up with Vinnie Murphy. The Dubs making a good start, but they kick a second wide. So 2 reasonable chances spurned by the Dubs early on. Derry yet to launch a real attack in earnest.
Slightly ominous for Derry there, how easy Vinnie Murphy was able to get away from Danny Quinn. But the midfield marking to Brian McGilligan has picked up Jack Sheedy and Paul Beelan and Mark and Anthony Tohol.
This is what you're expecting, I think.
Yes.
That's Charlie kicking. Charlie Redmond up into the air. Really, they're throwing away early chances, and good chances at that. People were questioning quite legitimately before this match just where the Dublin forward line were going to get their scores from, because to date they've depended quite a bit on Charlie, who's got a goal in 12, and Vinnie Murphy, who's got a goal in 5, and that's out of 4 matches so far. Fine afternoon, and just as I say it, look up towards the Cusack stand. It appears that a gentle mist might just be beginning to descend, but it's a pretty fair afternoon. It's as good a summer afternoon as we've got so far this year, as John McGurk is taken to ground. McGurk kicked it straight at Keith Barr, who starts this afternoon at centre half back in spite of the number 5 on his back. And the Gormley beginning to roam a little bit now. Kieran Walsh is opted to follow him as we watch Damien Barton Kicked into space. Good looking ball. Cassidy, the player, going in after that one, and the referee in there to signal a free in for jersey tugging. And Derry have a chance of going in front after the 3 Dublin misses. Well, you recall
pass in there from Damien Barton, and I suppose that's the strong point of his game, drifting out to midfield and feeding in passes. And for a minute there was a great goal chance on, because John O'Leary had come out and was sort of caught in no man's land.
Well, you recall last week in the match between Cork and Mayo, Mayo got a very early free chance and missed it, as we watch Seamus Downey coming back into the championship fray, taking on the gloves because of that mist I mentioned a little while ago. Here's Gormley's kick, it's an important one, and he drills it over the bar. Gormley playing some very good football this summer, and the Derry flags flying proudly and defiantly at a packed Croke Park. Reading the intentions from that kick out well. It's with Anthony Tohill. So much will be expected from him. Down to Seamus Downey. Ball skids away, however. Dermot Deasy. Now Gilroy. Listing judiciously to Jack Sheedy. Intricate play. Can they finish with a score? It's Kieran Walsh. And he balloons it away to the left. You won't be surprised to hear that he hasn't scored so far in this championship. So 4 wides for Dublin against that point from a free by Enda Gormley, and 5.5 minutes gone.
Almost all the players at this stage going for gloves, so the ball must be getting slippy.
McDeegan is being prepared across there. Only 5.5 minutes gone. I haven't spotted anybody picking up a serious injury so far. Maybe it's just a war into the players on the field as we watch McGilligan. Kick down towards Enda Gormley, it breaks away. Paddy Moran besting it out to the left-hand side. And the referee is going to call the ball back, I think. Mick Deegan is coming in. I wonder, is young Paul O'Neill being transferred? We haven't seen who's gone yet. Paul O'Neill isn't marking anybody just at the moment. Deasy has gone across to the far sideline, and it's Dermot Deasy who lasted a mere 6.5 minutes. Clearly not too happy with the injury that he had, but that's strange to have lasted just 5 or 6 minutes. Normally Dublin don't take chances on players who've got injuries like that. It's McGurk. Tohill looking for another score. That's magnificently kicked between the posts. Anthony Tohill showing why he's won the Man of the Match award on a couple of occasions in this year's Ulster campaign. Derry 2 points in front. Paddy Moran has gone full back for Dublin. Paul O'Neill is playing cornerback on Joe Brawley, and McDeegan is left half. And the man is marking Dermotini. It's Heary in pursuit. Gary Coleman trying to keep him away from it. Supported now by Henry Downey, who's been a magnificent captain all season. Derry get the free kick. Very pacey game. Kieran Walsh in difficulty. Paul O'Neill in just his second championship match, coming to rescue Dublin. Trying to get away from the figure of Enda Gormley, who was refusing to yield any yardage. It reaches Paul Clark. Dublin need a score badly to settle them down, and they kick another one, a 5th wide. So 5 wides in 8 minutes, Colm. It's not exactly great shooting.
No, and of course Dublin are playing with whatever wind advantage, and it is a good breeze at this stage. And Derry have had 2 chances and got 2 points from it. Dublin got a little bit disorganised there with that last point from Anthony Tohill, with Dermot Deasy going off. Was slack marking for a minute, and Derry punished him with the point. Deasy, of course, has been troubled with a groin injury for quite a while, but it's strange that Dublin let him on at all.
Phelan fisting it down. That's McGurk kicking left-footed. Gormley was the target, but it's Kieran Walsh who reads the intentions. There's a man loose in midfield, Jack Sheedy. And McGilligan is yielding considerable space to Jack Sheedy, but this time getting support from the former full forward Dermot Heaney, now operating at right half forward. This is McGilligan, drilled outside to Brolly. Joe Brolly, the young barrister, making his way through, making it look embarrassingly easy as he heads towards the 13-metre line. He gets the free. It's going very nicely for Derry. A chance now of a third point from a free. Well, that was a great run through the centre that time by Brolly. Well, the defence stood back somewhat. There was nobody coming in to pin a tackle. And some more kicking practice for Enda Gormley. Derry against the wind, lead by 3 points to 0. There are 9 minutes gone in the first half.
You can see the reason too why Derry are playing Dermot Heaney at right half forward. They're playing him a very much defensive capacity, and it was he who blocked down Jack Sheedy's kick there and started that movement. But Joe Brolly, who sometimes has let Derry down a little bit in big games, showed that he's not going to do it today anyway, if that run is anything to go by.
It was Barney Rock was making the point before this match that nowadays half forwards have to have a defensive capability as well. As this is kicked in towards Vinnie Murphy, fisted out, Kieran McKeever. Henry Downey now, going by the challenge from Charlie Redmond. Derry, well fired up, but with great purpose and determination. Tohill, once previously in 6 semi-finals, Derry managed to get by, and that was in 1958 when they beat Kerry. Curran's kick, nobody challenging Henry Downey. McGilligan now, the player loose just ahead of him, and one loose on this left-hand side as well. And Cassidy will appreciate that he should have done a lot better with that one, in spite of the tackle that came in there from Paul Curran. It was a useful chance.
Yes, and Cassidy is usually very accurate, even turning around away from the goals like that off his left foot. Kicked a couple of great points in the Ulster final at that sort of angle.
Switching the Dublin half forward line. Heary now left half forward, Clark right half forward, and their markers have followed them. McGilligan here. Damien Barton, good distributor of the ball. This time the intentions read by Nick Deegan, who I'm sure is delighted to be back as part of the Dublin Championship team once again, clearing his lines. But look how disorganised the passes are coming out of defence. Barton once again. Kieran McKeever. This is Joe Brolly. The high challenge on Joe Brolly is penalised. Here he warned. Gormley made a good diagonal run to Kieran Walsh with him. Two players to aim at inside as the angle is tight. Back to Barton. Gary Coleman calling for it. That one goes wide. Derry's second wide. And Damien Barton, having taken a good pass there, appreciating that he should have put it over the bar.
Barton and McGilligan are having a big influence in the early proceedings, especially McGilligan around the middle of the field. Has been winning most of the ball on Jack Sheedy. I have never seen him look as fit. He's very, very lean.
Tohill lets it drop down. He's supported by Gary Coleman, son, of course, of the manager Eamon Coleman. So the talk, I'm sure, is all about football in that particular household. Barton. Keith Barr, the player who was going in, putting the challenge in. Kieran McKeever in some trouble. Vinnie Murphy taking Danny Quinn out of residence. But a good challenge by Henry Downey. Ball won back and Dublin get the free. Vinnie Murphy, the player involved. And Danny Quinn's been called across. Vinnie could have a very big influence if he can get the better of the Balahi full-back. So it's the first chance for Charlie Redmond to take his free in his familiar little shuffle, going round the corner now. 7 steps back, 4 steps to the side. This is just inside the 45-metre line. The wind is blowing in support of that kick, and he puts it over. Charlie Redmond getting Dublin's first point from a free after 14 minutes play. So just 2 between them. We'll gather by the movement of the jersey there that the breeze is quite significant. The race for possession at midfield. Derry trying to catch, Dublin on occasions fisting down. Damien Cassidy. Seamus Downey, great transfer to Tohill. Tohill trying to go by Paul Whelan. It's Alwood Brawley once again. Trying to skip by Paul O'Neill, his marker now. Back to Tohill, drilling it inside, stopped by Paddy Moran, who now remember is playing at full back for Dublin in this very noisy cauldron that's Croke Park. Keith Barr, ready to shoulder anybody, he'll have a shoulder with him. Paul Curran, jersey tongue, referee says play on. It's with Jack Sheedy crossing the 65-metre line. Up to Vinnie Murphy. Vinnie going by, Danny Quinn with some ease. It's 3 points to 1 in Derry's favour, and Dublin have the free in. Again, significant that the referee had to have a word there with Danny Quinn about that challenge.
Yes, and Vinnie Murphy has won every ball that's come in there on Danny Quinn. Danny Quinn, of course, was left off from the Ulster final. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a change there, because Tony Scullion could fill in at full back.
So, Charlie takes the same routine. Henry Downey, the Derry team captain, some 20 metres away. This to narrow the gap. A second point by Charlie Redmond, and there's just 1 between them. And with all kinds of funny figures up there in Hill 16, augmenting that crowd. A sea of blue up there, in contrast with perhaps 2/3 of the rest of the ground, which is by and large red and white territory. Damien McCusker here, one of 8 Derry players appearing in his second All-Ireland semi-final. The last was 1987. Jack Sheedy tried to win this race, doing so. McGilligan in pursuit. Jack checking. Just outside. He did all the spade work himself. He runs so hard, he works so tirelessly, doesn't always kick as accurate as he might. Fergal McCusker is, that's not Fergal McCusker. It looks like Carol Diamond indeed, son of Tommy Diamond. Speaking there with Eamon Coleman. Fergal McCusker's over there as well indeed, also being prepared as a possibility. It's Diamond on the right, McCusker's on the left-hand side. If a change is to be made, it'll be probably made at full back. Curran, only 3 points to 2. Shoulder by Cassidy, that team to be shoulder to shoulder. Paul Curran being reminded that it's a free and not a sideline ball. Charlie is first everything when it comes to frees, so he's out to take it. We watch Damien Cassidy. Dublin with at least 3 good free takers in their ranks this afternoon. Good deep one, and it's Tohill. It goes back to support the fullback. Gary Coleman taking it back there from Seamus Downey, or Devertini rather. And that's a very deliberate pull down over there, which Eamon Coleman is quick to protest. Keith Barr was the Dubliner involved, been called back now. And the notebook out. Keith Barr's name has been taken for that deliberate sling down challenge. This is it again.
Well, it's a deliberate foul there and a personal foul, so the referee actually has no option but to book him in such a circumstance.
Pat O'Neill there, Jim Brogan watching as Derry make the changes. And the player coming on there is Carl Diamond. His father, Tommy, was of course a member of a great minor side back around 65. Danny Quinn, the player who has been replaced. Seamus Downey, shot blocked down, comes back to Jack Sheedy for Dublin. Paul O'Neill calling for it. Heary fisting it on. It reaches Pat Gilroy, middle of the field. Henry Downey, his marker. Sweeping up towards Vinnie Murphy. It's fisted out there by Tony Scullion. Scullion has taken over duties marking Vinnie Murphy.
The sort of formation that they had in the Ulster final, except Fergal McCusker was a half-back that day rather than Carl Diamond.
This is Desi Farrell, had the first chance of a score in this match. This is the latest. That's McCusker being challenged by Vinnie Murphy. McGilligan catching, losing then, and it's Jack Sheedy once again. What a battle they're having at midfield. Jersey tugged. Shake of the head by Brian McGilligan. Came to prominence in 1986 with the Irish team that toured Australia. Kevin Heffernan on that occasion utilised him as a full back. A very good one he was also. So Charlie Redmond taking this free, 45 and a bit out. Well within Charlie's range and he's wind assisted. This can level up the match. After kicking a whole load of wides earlier on, a total of 6 in all, Dublin pull back the 3-point deficit and have now made a complete recovery. All Dublin scores coming from Charlie Redmond from frees. And just 1 point in the match so far from play, that from Anthony Tohill. Phelan over there contesting with the aforementioned Tohill. Fouling as well. Derry get the free kick. Drop towards Cassidy, who made a good run, but it breaks kindly into the hands of Keith Barr. Pushed down and Dublin get the free out. It was a tough competitive battle, Keith Barr. Picking up a little injury as well for his troubles.
Well, he comes in and Brian McGilligan comes in right over the top of him there and a knee into the back, and I'm sure Barr is feeling that.
Well, the last thing they would want now, Dublin, having lost Dermot Deasy already, would be to lose the man who's playing centre half-back. The physio, Pat Duggan is the doctor looking after medical matters with the Dublin squad. Paul Clark is now operating on the 40 for Dublin. Pat Gilroy is left half forward. Let's see if those switches will work. It's Henry Downey who takes it magnificently and is then fouled. The referee says play on quickly. Dermot Heaney leading it there for Kieran McKeever, calling for the return ball. Doesn't come his way. Good challenges by the Dublin forwards. Illustrating, I think, there just how much this game has changed in recent years as Keith Barr is the victim of a sandwich. And once again the referee opting to take out the notebook. So Damien Barton is the player who's having his name recorded.
Keith Barr again coming forward here, and Damien Barton and Anthony Tohill trying to sandwich him in between. Damien Barton getting booked for it. But the Dublin forwards have put a lot of pressure on the Derry backline there and forced them, John McGurk, into a very hurried kick which went to Keith Barr. So good work by the Dublin forwards.
This is about 50 metres out. It could still be within his range. He may opt to kick it in towards Vinnie Murphy. He's going for the score. But Dublin's 7th wide, coming off the boot there of Charlie Redmond. in the 24th minute of the first half. Well, the Finance Minister is enjoying the game, I'm sure. Great Dublin fan always, Bertie Ahern. McCusker's left-footed kick out. Sark has gone back into that area to try and forage for some ball. Henry Downey is lording it so far against a succession of Dublin opponents. Crowley's jersey was being held by Paul O'Neill as he was attempting to get possession. It'll be Derry who'll have the free kick just outside the Dublin 45-metre line. There's still a fair old breeze out there supporting Dublin in the first half, and Derry will be quite pleased, I think, with the way things have gone. They've just lost their way a little bit in the scoring stakes in the last 10 minutes. So Gormley to kick. Curling towards the right. John O'Leary in there, it's dropped down. And the shot there is eventually hooked away. It was Dermot Heaney's shot. The ball was dropped down there by Paul Beelan, who was challenging John O'Leary for it. And that could so easily have ended up in the back of the Dublin net. But it's Jack Sheedy who carries it out. Towards Eamon Heary, or Charlie Redmond rather. Redmond beaten by John McGurk. Kicked ambitiously outside. Now Heaney. Just 1 point at the championship so far for his efforts as a full forward, today at half forward. Trying to get around Mick Deegan, supported there by Seamus Downey, and the ball ends up going wide. A couple of useful chances falling Derry's way in the last two attacks, and nothing coming from them. Goal attempt just a few minutes ago is worth looking at again, however.
Yes, that was a good chance of a Derry goal. Paul Beelan coming across, John O'Leary knocking the ball out of his hands, knocking it right down there to Dermot Heaney, who had a good chance of a goal, but again blocked down there. Could have been put over the bar shortly afterwards, and it was a good chance missed for Derry.
So from the resultant kick out, it's with Eamon Heary. Heary against Carol Diamond. It's fisted out there by Tony Scullion, known as Scud. In by Charlie. Pat Gilroy to kick and put Dublin in front for the first time in the match. So Pat Gilroy's first point. Just his second point in all in this year's championship. And Dublin go in front by 4 points to 3. Broken down again by Jack Sheedy. Heary having difficulty taking it up, followed up by Paul Clark with 8 minutes to go to the break. Desi Farrell. Finney was moving in already for that one, having to check his stride now. And Tony Scullion committing a 5-13, I think, as the rule book dictates. It's going to be a throw ball. Stalemate situation. One there by Paul Beelan. And Beelan getting the free. I think he was putting the head down and going forward, hoping for the best that time. Could easily have been accused of charging, but Dublin get the free kick, and Charlie Redmond will gleefully accept the opening. He's kicked 3 out of 4 attempts so far. This one of the easiest frees he's had this afternoon. He doesn't miss those. So Dublin, with the wind at their backs, lead by 2. They missed a lot earlier on. Derry came back, got some good scores from Enda Gormley from frees and from Anthony Tohill, but now a complete Dublin recovery.
Yes, and Dublin beginning to get much more ball around the midfield in their half-hour line, which they weren't doing for the first 15 minutes.
McDeegan over there to challenge, but it's Derry who have possession. Kieran McKeever sweeping them into the attack with Damien Barton here. Holding on to it for dear life, quite ferocious battle. Wonderfully competitive. just overstepping the mark once or twice, but overall a ferocious battle expected. Dermot Heaney ballooning it up into the air. Brawley will have difficulty getting to this one. It's Paul O'Neill instead. Referee saying play away. Keith Barr, Mick Deegan. Deegan belting it forward to Vinnie Murphy. This is a good spell by the Dubs. Vinnie Murphy holding up the point of the attack. Fisting it to Paul Clark. Trying to open it up inside to Desi Farrell. Back to Pat Gilroy, looking for another score. McCusker will watch, but he can't do much about it as it sails over the bar. So Gilroy doubling his return of points. And Dublin lead by double scores.
That was a very good Dublin point. Good move right up the field from the left corner back position, and a particularly good pass in from Paul Clark, who drove the ball in low as far as Desi Farrell and on to Pat Gilroy, who wouldn't be noted as a scoring forward, but has kicked 2 points already today.
Phelan, his players stripped. Cohill wondering, looking at the referee, whether he should have got a free. It's in towards Desi Farrell. It's fisted out by McCusker. This is dangerous for Derry. Desi in pursuit once again. He's got Paul Clark just to his left. Ball beats them all over the sideline. And Paul Clark with a word there with Vinnie Murphy, and Vinnie, I think, fancying his chances. He was hoping to make a better angle for himself, but the linesman was saying, no, you don't. So it's just a metre or two from the end line. I remember Vinnie scoring, I think, in the league final against Donegal from a sideline ball down at the other end of the field. Not going for a score on this occasion. It's Mick Deegan instead. The sub in for Dermot DC, and he can't do any better. Dublin's 8 wides, 3 wides for Derry from the first half, and they're quite happy on the hill.
Very bad marking there by Derry to allow Mick Deegan have a free shot. Dublin did exactly the same in the Leinster final when Vinnie Murphy went out to take a sideline ball in that position. Everybody expected him to go for a point, kick the chart to Charlie Redmond, who kicked it over the bar. Derry should have been expecting that to happen again.
So it's Dublin beginning to take command at midfield more and more. Jack Sheedy accused of pushing. Derry get the free kick. McGilligan the taker. The Ulster champions now needing a score just to bring them back into the match once again. Somehow Keith Barr holds on. Jack Sheedy through the centre. Tony Scullion drops it and has a second or two to regain his composure. To Barton. I think he spotted that John McGurk was waiting for the pass just outside, took his eye off it, and Dublin regained possession. It's with Deegan. Charlie Redmond, 45 metres out, heard a call from Paul Curran, kicking, and that's another great point. Paul Curran, just when Derry should have cleared their lines, there was a breakdown in communications. Derry are Dublin there to avail of it, and it's 7 points to 3.
Great pass by Mick Deegan across the field, and down from Charlie to Paul Curtin. Kicked a great point, but that ball should have been cleared by Derry. Damien Barton had the ball and let it drop out of his hand.
I just wonder what's become of Derry. Off manager Billy Morgan here this afternoon with Dirk, and once again the referee showing that he's consistent, taking the name of Pat Gilroy for that high challenge. Here it is. 2 minutes to go to half-time. Enda Gormley punting it ahead towards Seamus Downey, who struggled to make an impression. McGilligan needing to come back into it. Now Damien Cassidy. There's 4 points between the teams, but Derry needing a score. Oh, that's a great fist away by Phelan, but the referee says that was a foul and it's a penalty. That was interesting. Paul Phelan came in, the Derry player went to the ground. It looked like Phelan had been fisting it away fairly.
I think the referee has given that free in for a late tackle on Damien Cassidy when he punched the ball across the goals. It's not for the incident in the goals at all.
Oh, the referee was quick to move, so no penalty. A free from the 13-metre line, and it's drilled over there by Enda Gormley. 3-pointed freeze by Enda Gormley. 7 points to 4.
Damien Cassidy makes ground in on the wing, and when he gives the ball across, Pete Barr comes in with a late tackle, and the referee is quite right in giving a free in from the 14-yard line.
Well, it'll be one of those talking points. The scoring chances so far: Derry with 4 scores out of 8 chances, Dublin with 7 scores availed of out of 16 chances. They were quite profligate earlier on. Paul Curran, Kieran Walsh, inevitably Jack Sheedy, always the hub of the activity. Geary firing it forward to Vinnie Murphy. He's getting on the ball quite a lot in this match, getting out there ahead of his man time and again. Phelan now kicking. This will be a fine point if he can make it. He does. That's a great score, the result of a lot of fine passing. A ball won by Vinnie Murphy against Tony Scully, and to set it all up, once again Dublin lead by double scores.
Great point from Paul Phelan, but Derry are getting caught from John O'Leary's kick-outs, which are coming out under the Hogan stand here all the time, and Derry don't seem to be reading them. Dublin picking up all the possession and again feeding the ball forward very well.
Jack Sheedy racing across for it. Getting there ahead of Brian McGilligan. Again, Vinnie Murphy takes up a great position. Scully had forgot about his marking responsibilities. He's back with him now. It was a great, astute pass from the centre of the field. Dessie Farrell keeping the attack alive. And the ball touched on the ground back here in McKeever. It's going to be a free in for Derry, for Dublin. So free for Dublin. Very clever forward play. Vinnie Murphy drifted away to top of the left, and there was an astute pass to pick him out. Scullion was back goal side immediately after that. But there's a growing maturity evident in the Dublin forward line. McKeever then conceding the free kick. Charlie Redmond the taker. The clock here in Croke Park approaching 5 minutes past 4. I make it about a minute and a half into injury time. The umpire reaches for the white flag, delighting the hill. Charlie's 5th point of the first half. Charlie deadly from a free. 9 points to 4 in injury time.
Dublin have played well for the last 15 minutes, but I'm sure Derry won't be that worried about being quiet down. The wind is very strong.
It's half time. Tommy Sugrue whistling up proceedings. A first half in which Dublin were slow to settle with their shooting, but Charlie Redmond got 5 points for Pat O'Neill's team. They retire at half-time. Carol Diamond has been introduced into the match in place of Danny Quinn, and at half-time it's Dublin who lead by 9 points to 4.
Maguire. Kevin Heffernan was captain. You brought home Sam. I'm sure when this match started it brought back Mick.
But not really. I think our total concentration was on today's game. We just keep our friendship.
Certainly it was a fine victory that time.
Well, we were very happy to win because we had lost in 55 3 years earlier, so we were very anxious to get a win before we finished playing. Some of us were nearing the end of our days at that stage.
Jim McKeever, certainly being back out in Croke Park today must indeed instill many memories, but let's talk about today's match. Are you happy with Derry's performance for the first 35 minutes?
Well, I was very happy with the first 10 to 15 minutes. I thought they started very well. I thought they were the better team at that period. They were more incisive. They got 3 scores, which I think they deserved. But since then, they've lost track of the game a little bit, and Dublin have come stronger. They're getting faster to the breaking ball. They're getting a lot of freedom in the middle of the field to place the balls up into their forwards, which I think Derry will have to do something about in the second half.
You certainly seem to have problems in your full back line.
Well, they had in the beginning. I think the full back line's possibly straightened out a little bit. It'll be interesting. It should be easier this half with the wind behind them. They should have less problems.
How about Dublin, Kevin Heffernan? Are they going to win it?
Well, I'm very pleased the way they've settled. They were a bit edgy early on, and Derry had some great chances. They didn't take full advantage of them. But I think we'll hold out.
Kevin Heffernan and Tim McKeever, thank you both very much indeed. Back to you, Michael.
Of the half, they've lost away in the middle of the field. They're not picking up the breaking ball. The Dublin half-back line with Regan now in it is definitely causing the problems, and the lack of size there in the half forward for Pat Gilroy in particular is giving Johnny McGurk a lot of problems. I feel the introduction of Dermot Backbecker and possibly Dermot Healy to the edge of the square would help Derry.
what changes that Derry have made or might make in the second half, but I'm sure that Dublin, as they go out for the second half, will be quite pleased with the way things have gone for them. However, as we said of the minors earlier on, they're only halfway to the All-Ireland final at this stage. Let's go back again to our commentary team.
Crowd settled down once again. As you say, it's 9 points to 4 at half-time. Curiously, neither team has conceded a goal so far in this year's championship, which is a remarkable record in itself, and also the result of some fine goalkeeping by John O'Leary and by Damien McCusker. Tommy Sugru is poised and ready. The Dublin subs still making their way across to the far side of the field. It's as you were at midfield. Joe Brolly being marked by Paul O'Neill, as he has been for the last 30 minutes of the match. Keith Barr still centre half back. McTeagan is to his left, bit like old times in the Dublin half back line. So it's Derry who have the wind at their backs, and McGilligan launching the first attack. Joe Brolly, held by Paul O'Neill. Dermot Deasy there making his way behind the netting at the back of the goal, across towards the subs bench. The linesman is calling the referees anything that happened off the ball. So the referee then having to act upon whatever the linesman saw. He's not going to run all the way down as far as John McGurk and Paul Clark, who were maybe just exchanging pleasantries. Not a particularly serious matter in any case. Enda Gormley, 3 points so far out of 4 for Derry. Dissecting the post, but not quite getting it over. Keith Barr coming out with it. Derry regrouping, Damien Barton. And the referee again indicating in a flamboyant wave of the arms that it's going to be a free in. So a backs to the wall situations for the Dubs. Kieran Walsh on the post. It'll be Anthony Tohill who will hit this one. And as in the first half, Derry get the first point of the second half. A second point by Anthony Tohill. Well, that rekindles expectations once again among the many legions of Derry fans who've made the long trek down from Ulster.
Easy enough free there for Derry. It did seem as if the Dublin backs had made a genuine attempt to play the man. It'll be interesting to see whether John O'Leary will try to find Pat Gilroy with the kick out, because Pat Gilroy has a massive advantage in size over John McGurk.
If he does so, he'll be swinging it away to the left. That's gone down the centre. Tohill fisting it down. Damien Cassidy, the player, emerging with it. Tohill once again poking it forward to Joe Brolly. A lot of the ball going across his direction in the early minutes of the second half. Again setting up an attack. Henry Downey, the team captain, and this time it does dissect the post. The lead is clawed back. Derry now with the first 2 points of the second half, and only 3 between them.
Both of those points have come as a result of Joe Brolly getting out in front of Paul O'Neill here on the right wing of the attack for Derry, and he gives it to Henry Downey, who had moved forward looking for a pass. Joe Brolly has shipped a heavy tackle, and he seems to be in a spot of trouble, as well as Damien Cassidy.
Cassidy down here. Joe Brolly, as you say, also in a bit of trouble. He's down on one knee at the moment. I don't think he's offering up prayers at this stage in the afternoon. Brolly back at his feet again, he's okay. Cassidy likewise. Henry Downey's poised there, going with the goal that he scored in the championship in round 1 against Down. And Derry had a very emphatic win. McGilligan at midfield against Sheedy. Again the ball coming down between them. Fisted by McGilligan. It reaches Pat Gilroy, who was suggested a little while ago as having a good time with it against John McGurk whenever the ball comes down his area of the field. Kieran McKeever emerging, getting support from Carol Diamond. They're under 21 players as well. The stumbling figure there of Paul Beelan, releasing it outside to Eamon Heary. Heary kicking with the left foot with accuracy. First point of the match for Eamon Heary. Sam come home, they say on the hill. If Eamon Heary has his way, they will bridge that long 10-year gap. 10 points to 6.
Good point by Eamon Heary, but again, good tackling by the Dublin forwards to dispossess Carl Diamond, who is in, and Heary off his left foot, a good point.
This time it's Tuchel and Beelan in the action. Won again by the Dubs. Clark kicking towards Vinnie Murphy, bounces off his chest. They're waiting for it. It's John McGurk reading the intentions. Scott, as they call him, playing it to the left. Now McKeever again. Joe Brolly again winning a third ball that's come his way against Paul O'Neill. McGilligan away to the left-hand side. Cassidy coming in. Ball beating them all for pace.
Dublin had put Dick Egan back on Brawley. Paul O'Neill was getting caught there. First 3 balls that have come in, so I suppose the switch is fairly obvious. Deegan haven't spent a lot of time at cornerback over the last few years, and Paul O'Neill is more suited to halfback.
Dublin considering the option of a fresh man. They're warming up a sub across on the far side of the field as we watch Enda Gormley chip it ahead. Nicely from Seamus Downey. That's a lovely ball transfer there to Coleman. Gary Coleman going by, fisting, and he's put the ball over the bar. Good use of the fist there by Gary Coleman, and the manager's son gives Derry another ray of hope with another fine point. 3 between them once again.
Great play by Seamus Downey, taking the ball and giving it to Gary Coleman. And Gary Coleman slips inside Paul Curran and does the sensible thing, puts it over the bar with the fist.
Just listen to the crowds at Croke Park. Tremendous noise. Henry Downey. Again, they tried that option of Brawley, but this time the Dubs have read the script, and Mick Deegan gets there first. Gilroy. Up into the air. Fisted down by Paul Beelan, on towards Vinnie Murphy. Won by Kieran McKeever. But now Desi Farrell for Dublin. Holding possession. On to Charlie Redmond. There's a score on here for Charlie, and he makes the most of it. A 6th point for Charlie Redmond. That's the first from play. Well, Charlie is certainly their darling on the hill. 7 minutes into the second half. But it is an intense battle.
Yes, and the play is opening up, and there's some great scores from playing now. Desi Farrell does very well for Dublin, holds possession under pressure. This is a great point by Charlie. Into a strong wind, kicks it right over, and Dublin are very much the masters around the middle of the field even still.
McGilligan taking that from Dermot Heaney. On through the centre towards Gormley. It's run by Kieran Walsh. Play opening up. It's a more enterprising game, free-flowing, hugely entertaining. Jack Sheedy. Gilroy was his target, but it's Gary Coleman who's back there, supported by Carol Diamond. Foul, free quickly taken. Damien Cassidy. At times he reminds one of Dermot McNichol, who was one of the subs this afternoon. Cassidy once again. Running into Eamon Heary. Fouled by the Dub. Derry get the free kick. Jack Sheedy, a man who expends an awful lot of energy in the course of any 70 minutes, running up and down the field. Today, by and large, he's had to concentrate on winning the aerial exchanges at midfield. It drops nicely for the full forward, Seamus Downey. And Tuchel had made a good run, couldn't quite contain the pass. That was potentially very dangerous. Kieran Walsh giving the outlet pass there to Paddy Moran. Great fielding over there. Carol Diamond. Damien Barton. Knocked in. A bit of a chase for possession here. Dermot Heaney, the Derry player involved. John O'Leary giving a very clean goal. Paul O'Neill. Flicked forward by O'Neill to Pat Gilroy. Vinnie Murphy against Tony Scullion. Sheedy. Two strong sides, and the referee saying playing on even though it wasn't a fair shoulder to shoulder. It's Anthony Tohill. Tohill gets the free kick. Dublin didn't want to allow him taken too quickly. It sails through. John O'Leary having to come from his goal to assist his full back line, holding up the attack. Beelan moving all over the field. Paul Beelan kicked, but it's Tony Scullion who reads the intentions fast. Kieran McKeever. It's end-to-end stuff. 11 points to 7 the position in Dublin's favour, and just 10 minutes gone in the second half. Beelan dropping it inside, and again very intelligently Tony Scullion is back there, playing almost as a sweeper behind his defence. Carol Diamond sweeping it this time away to the left-hand side. Downey has it. Brother of the team captain, Seamus Downey, on his way once again. Getting there ahead of Paddy Moore, and then he's put it wide. It's just gone wide. Dermot McNichol is in the Derry team. Damien Cassidy appears to be the player they're withdrawing. Well, a familiar figure in there, Sean Boylan in there. The man of music alongside him, I'm sure you all recognise.
Dermot McNichol now would be needed. Damien Cassidy wasn't making much of an impact anyway in the game, and McNichol is a good man to run at the defence. That's what Derry need now at the moment.
Paul O'Neill lets it drop down. He's having an unhappy time in the second half, Paul O'Neill. This is his second championship match, however. Joe Brolly. McGilligan looking to score from this. Looks easy. McGilligan's first point of the day. The gap closing the whole time. Derry wanting to reach the final, just like Down in 91 and like Donegal in 92, but they won't just be happy to reach the final, they'll want to win it as well.
Well, again, a bad kick out by John O'Leary that should have been taken in by Paul O'Neill. Lets it hop off, and Joe Brolly transfers it to McGilligan, and that's a very good point. Derry keep him within striking distance.
There's Dermot McNichol. Well, he's got great pace. Kieran Walsh breaks towards McNichol. This is his kind of day now. A big crowd, 60,000 here, with the ball touched on the ground. Dublin get the free kick. Derry need a good 20 minutes now from this fellow. Barr. Kicking towards the left-hand side. Vinnie Murphy with Paul Clark. Clark has it. Great block down there by Tony Scullion. Comes back again to Clark. Scoring chance here for Paul Clark, and he makes the most of it at the second attempt. A terrific block down the first time by Tony Scullion, but Paul Clark was alive to the possibilities, and Dublin lead by 4 once again.
Again, another very good point from play. Vinnie Murphy does very well when Paul Clark's kick is blocked down the first, and quick transfer, probably a throw, but Paul Clark takes it in. Goodbye, Anthony Tohill kicks a great point.
Yes, I think if looking at it again, it certainly did look a throw. The ball holding the hand looked like it was moving as well. All academic. 4 between them. Dermot McNichol initiating an attack with Gormley in support. Kicking. It's a terrific semi-final. Gormley's 4th point. The Ulster champions fighting back in style in the second half, and the Dubs giving as good as they're getting.
Again, another great score from play. Darren McNichol doing what he's good at, getting the ball and running at the defence, beating Paul Clark, drawing a man. A great point from a left-footed footballer from that side of the pitch. But Dublin seem to be always keeping that 3 points in front, even though when Derry get a point, Dublin seem to be able to respond with a point from play themselves.
Mick Galvin being prepared on the far side. McGilligan. Well, as Colin was saying, Derry now hoping to try and take a more commanding position here, but every time they get a score, Dublin come back and respond. Dublin getting the free kick for pushing.
Kieran Walsh doing very well there. That was a very dangerous ball across from McGilligan, and Kieran Walsh doing very well to put it out in front of Enda Gormley.
Kieran Walsh is down injured. They're holding Mick Galvin. Oh, he's been introduced now. Kieran Walsh is down. He's back on the feet again, and once more drops down onto his hunkers. He doesn't look entirely comfortable. He's given Dublin some great service over the last few years.
Mick Galvin, of course, coming on now, and Paul Clark, who kicked the point a few minutes ago, is going off. Galvin has been suffering from an Achilles tendon injury, taken off in the Leinster final after coming on. Yes, Kieran Walsh across there and comes down very heavily, and sure it's not too serious.
Eamon Heary has gone back, wing back. It's Paul O'Neill who's going off. Paul Clark did make a run across towards the far sideline, but that is just to switch into right half forward. So just a couple of switches. So Galvin is in. He's up there at full forward already. Vinny is on the left-hand side, hoping to profit by this kick ahead by Charlie Redmond. Cut out, however, very convincingly by Tony Scullion, who's led the line well. Anthony Tohill finding Joe Brolly. 16 minutes gone in the second half. On towards Seamus Downey. Transferred back once again here to Dermot Heaney. Heaney giving it to Enda Gormley. Another ambitious kick sails over the crossbar, and there are just 2 points between the teams. We look like we're in for a grandstand finish. 12 points to 10, the Dubs ahead, but Derry clawing their way back and fighting manfully.
Well, one could never hope to see better points from playing any game. The whole second half has been full of brilliant points. Great ball from Dermot Heaney onto Gormley, gets onto his left foot, and again, very, very accurate.
Well, people talk about great matches. This is hugely enjoyable, and it's turning out to be an absolutely great semi-final. Curran taken down. Dublin get the free kick.
Probably a good move on Dublin's part, putting Eamon Heary back to left half back. Paul O'Neill wasn't doing particularly well, and Heary would be more suited to half back line anyway.
Keith Barr making his point to somebody. This 50 metre is just a little bit more out. Midway through the second half. Dublin 12, Derry 10. Kicked well, but away towards the right-hand side, fisted down, but only into the waiting arms of Henry Downey. Back off somebody's legs to Paul Clark, and Clark has put it wide. He had a chance. Henry Downey rushed his clearance.
That was a good chance of a point for Dublin. Long ball in from Keith Barr is punched down here by Mick Galvin, who gets up very high, and Henry Downey makes a right mess of it here himself. And Paul Clark really should have stuck that one over.
Came off the back of Gary Coleman, I think. Phelan, dispossessed. Come back by Dermot Heaney. Joe Brolly was being restrained. Joe, who is a barrister by profession, pretty good at arguing his case, I think. He certainly made his point to the referee, Tommy Sugru. It'll be Enda Gormley who'll kick the free. A look of concern on the face of Mick Deegan.
Yes, and Enda Gormley has got about 5 yards of advantage bringing the ball infield to make it that much easier on himself.
3 out of 3 for Gormley. Round the corner kick, curling, just too much. 5 points his return so far for the match, and still 2 points between the teams. John O'Leary, of course, a lone job who won an All-Ireland medal back in 1983. The various mentors, Eamon Colvin there on the right, calling out the instructions. It's anybody's semi-final, but who will it be on the third Sunday in September against Cork? Tuchel going back, shipping it nicely forward. Again, Joe Brolly getting a lot of the action in the second half. Deegan now standing his ground. Eamon Healy back in familiar territory. The left half soloing forward. Curran likes to run at defences. Charlie having to check his stride. Wasn't the best or more accurate hand pass. Bell to the cross. 2 players waiting for it, but nobody profiting, and in the end it's Gary Coleman who's held back there. Referee says play on. Oh, a high challenge. John McGurk goes down. Paul Clark will have his name taken for that, I think. The referee has good players already in this match for high tackles like this one here.
Yes, that's a bad tackle. John McGurk runs through, Paul Clark taking him over very high, but the game has been played in a very good spirit, so I'd say Paul Clark will get a booking and it'll be left at that.
Ordinarily, Paul Clark is a very sporting player, and that was a little untypical. Quite wisely, Tommy Sugrue quite content with the booking.
Yes, a lot of tall players like Pat Gilroy the first half and Paul Clark have difficulty tackling small men, especially when they come down low to go through a tackle. So sometimes it's more awkwardness than malicious, these high tackles.
Ball well kicked forward by Carol Diamond. Breaks down to Paul Beelan. Again, Curran waiting for it. That's the time gone. Gilroy to turn. Or McGalvin, rather. Charlie Redmond hitting this one, and he's found the range. From McGalvin's pass, Charlie Redmond gets his 7th score in the semi-final. So they keep that gap between Derry and themselves at 2 or 3 points, 3 right now.
Well, Charlie's on course for canonisation the way he's going. Again, awkward angle for a right-footed kicker, kicking into the wing. Kicks a great point and keeps Dublin at 3 points in front. Derry just not able to get any closer.
So St. Lawrence O'Toole about to be replaced by St. Charlie of Erin's Isle. John McGurk. Good penetrating run. Here he comes across, elbow a bit high. Referee quite correctly awarded the free into Derry. Here he going about his business very quickly then. It's Keith Barr who's trying to make sure the free isn't taken too quickly. Kieran Walsh, the player with the right hand in the air, is trying to deflect Enda Gormley in any way he can. Gormley with 5 points. Dublin 13. Derry 10. Again, going round the corner to hit that target. That's a better one. A 6th point of the match. Just 2 points separating the teams once again. 12 minutes remaining.
Derry switching Dermot Heaney back here on Pat Gilroy for the kick-outs. It's a good idea. John McGurk was giving away a big height advantage and Dublin were trying to exploit that.
A short kick out to Eamon Healy, now being marked by John McGurk. It's scrambled loose to Kieran Walsh. Players available for it, but it's Enda Gormley. This is a goal chance. Still Gormley, Joe Brolly. Oh, he's put it over the bar. There's one between them, but that should have been a Derry goal. Joe Brolly's first score recorded as a point. I think that should have been a goal. It was a glorious chance.
Yes, Kieran was putting the ball in. Paddy Moore guilty of waiting for it, and the Gormley does well, gives it to Brolly. John O'Leary again out about 10 yards, and Joe Brawley probably should have stuck it, but if he had to kick it low, O'Leary would probably have blocked it.
So one between them in this terrific semi-final. Tohill, dominant at midfield. An intelligent kick ahead inside Paddy Moran. John O'Leary having to race from his goal. Linking up here with Paul Curran. Out to Eamon Heary. Mick Deegan's on his way. Pulled down by Dermot Heaney. Without an advantage. Tony Scullion getting assistance from Henry Downey. Derry now seeking to kick an equaliser here. Joe Brawley. It's Dermot Heaney. 13 points to 12. Blocked down there by Charlie Redmond, who didn't know a lot about it as Enda Gormley was kicking. It's Kieran Walsh once again. Dublin now turning defence into attack. Gary Coleman needing support from Anthony Tohill. Tohill is held. Referee says play on quickly. It reaches McGilligan. It's a good spell for Derry. Heaney just about holds on inside the 20-metre line. Paul Curran would like to keep him out there, and the referee whistling, saying it's going to be a free out.
Derry are after wasting two great chances there. Charlie Redmond, a great block, and Enda Gormley, who should have had the ball gone. And Dermot Heaney, really good chance of kicking for a score there, and he should have gone for it.
Inside 10 minutes still remaining. It's been a hugely enjoyable first hour, and it'll be a tense and intense last 10 minutes. They race for it at midfield. It's a minefield, but it's Pat Gilroy who emerges with the ball. There were a lot of Derry bodies probably getting in one another's way. Henry Downey back there organising his defence. Paul Curran there saying to the forwards to spread out and to bring a bit more width into the attack. Chance now for Dublin, but that one is cut out by Tony Scullion. Brian McGilligan. Dublin leading by one. Desi Farrell. Jack Sheedy. Still Sheedy, but running into a bit of a cul-de-sac on the end line. And the umpire waving it. Derry's kick out. Well, who's your money on now, Colm?
Well, at this stage you wouldn't bet against a draw. Derry are coming very strong. The Derry backs seem to have got on top of the Dublin forwards, and Tony Scullion is handling Vinnie Murphy much better, and Anthony Tohill has come into it at midfield. So it's going to be, should be a great last 10 minutes.
Tohill, that's a great catch. One of the finest pieces of fielding we've seen this afternoon. Dublin slow to retreat. Free quickly taken again towards Joe Brawley. Mick Deegan pulls him down. Derry will get the free kick. It's taken quickly up there towards the full forward Seamus Downey. Downey going by. Derry need a score. Pulled down, free in, chance of the equaliser. Kieran Walsh arguing furiously, but it was Seamus Downey, and all of that came about as a result of very quick thinking by people like Henry Downey, taking free kicks quickly. Dublin slow to retreat. Enda Gormley can tie up the match. There'll be 7 minutes still to go. It's tight, but it's in. Not allowing too much margin for error. Derry fans will feel the journey has been well worthwhile. The equaliser comes, as I say, with 7 minutes to go.
Again, Joe Brawley was the main man in that move, won the ball. I think it's noticeable that Mick Deegan, the injury, he was caught for pace a little bit there. Started off in front of Brawley, but Brawley still got possession.
Fisted down by Brian McGilligan. They race for it. It's Seamus Downey racing against Kieran Walsh. Transferred magnificently to Enda Gormley. Players inside Galway. One of them is Gary Coleman. The other is Henry Downey. Out on his feet. Henry Downey finishing, and he puts it over the bar. The team captain gets a second point of the match, and Derry are in front. They led by 3 points to no score earlier on. They've come back strongly. It's been a great second half, and he's led by example. What a game we're having.
And Derry are playing like men possessed at the moment. They're hunting in packs, and they're just sheer numbers is getting the better of Dublin.
I just feel that over the last couple of years they've seen Down, they've seen Donegal. They wanted to come here and do it as well. Is it to be disappointment once again for the Dubs? There's plenty of time remaining. Vinnie Murphy. Good ball across. Breaks down towards Charlie Redden. He's fouled by Brian McGilligan, and that's a free in for Dublin. Tommy Sugar explaining to Brian McGilligan just why the high challenge penalised Charlie on the seat of his pants. Johnny Barr has been prepared in one last throw of the dice across on the far side of the field by Dublin. Remember the great point he scored when he came in against Kildare in the Leinster decider. Well, does either team deserve in truth to lose this magnificent match? Replay scheduled for next weekend. This is one commentator who hopes that if it does go to a draw, then one Tommy Carr will be allowed to participate if Dublin decide to pick him. Charlie Redmond can make it 14 points apiece. Reverential hush on Hill 16 to give him every advantage. He doesn't need it. The cheer on the hill, saluting Charlie's 8th point. 5 minutes to go. What a climax. I hope you're enjoying it. Johnny Barr is coming in. It's Paul Clark who's going off.
Again, Johnny Barr did well in the Kildare game when he came on. Good man to carry the ball, and that's what Dublin need at the moment. Players to get it, hold it up and run at the Derry defence.
So Clark goes off, having played his part. Is there a winning score yet, or perhaps one or two more? Dermot Heaney. Players now having to make the most of every attack, but the game has been played at such a ferocious pace. Mistakes inevitably will occur. Dermot McNichol fouled by Charlie Redmond. Charlie not exactly overpleased by that decision. It's tense, but they're thrilled.
Enda Gormy has been kicking good frees, but it's a little, I think, beyond his range, and I would have thought that they've left this to Anthony Tohol, who has a great drive off the ground.
Enda's figure so far, 5 converted frees out of 7 taken. This just outside the 45-metre line. Again, around the corner approach, dropping inside. And blocked down. Damien Barton was the one who tried it. It's Paul Curran who's fouled. Dublin get the free out. Barton and Derry had a chance. Just over 3 minutes left.
Great block down there by Keith Carr. Could prove very, very valuable.
Well, after last Sunday's one-sided contest, this has been magnificent. And Fergal McCusker is about to be introduced for the final few minutes. It's over towards Johnny Barr. Gary Coleman over there. Likewise, Jack Sheedy. McCusker is in, joining his brother Damien as part of the Derry side. Damien the goalkeeper. Fergal now going in towards the full forward position, and it's Damien Barton who's off. A tactical substitution. McCusker is still roaming around, being marked by Keith Barr. Possession now absolutely critical. That's fisted down there by Paul Beelan, picked up by Joe Brolly, turning towards the post. A little solo by Brolly. McNichol feeding it back once again to Henry Downey. Outside it goes towards Johnny McGurk. McNichol calling for it. That's McGurk, and he's put it over the bar. Johnny McGurk, a name that is synonymous with great football in County Derry. They've given such great service, the McGurk family, to Loughby teams and Derry down the years. Is that a winner?
Another incredible point from play by Johnny McGurk off his left foot, and Derry very much in the driving seat now.
McGurk is back in defence once again, facing whatever perils may accrue from this latest attack. Derry have the ball once again. Dublin, beaten finalists last year, are being led by 15 points to 14. Time ebbing away. I make it 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Keith Barr wants to take it quickly, looking for some openings. There's nothing happening there. Instead, it's Derry's Kieran McKeever who goes across to clear the line. Brilliantly supported as always by his team captain. Derry now needing to play intelligent ball out of defence. Dublin having to harry, to chase, to bustle all the way along. Derry will be just content to play the game if they can in Derry's half of the field. Are Dublin to go down at the semi-final stage? They were the favourites coming into this match. The talk was all about the quality in the Derry team. Anthony Toll has his hands in the air already. Just to signal the sideline ball, not jubilation at victory. 30 seconds to go. Dublin with 14 scores out of 24 chances. Derry with 15 scores out of 21. They're all on their feet across on the far side, ready to hurl the famous Ulster victory. Is an Ulster team to be in the final for the third year in succession. Derry's last All-Ireland final appearance, 1958. Then it was Dublin they faced. This time it would be Cork. Gary Coleman to try and signal the finish of this match, and Joe Brolly is still prepared to chase.
John O'Leary with the quick kick out there. He's been doing that all year and catches Derry.
We're in injury time. This has to be it. Dublin have the free kick taken by Jack Sheedy. Is there time for one last attack? Is there a possible equaliser? Will Derry hold on? Huge cheers from the northern following. All the different counties of Ulster, I think, are represented here, supporting their champions from Derry. Smiles. It's all over! Derry are in the final! Derry win by a point. Johnny McGurk's late score was enough to carry them through in 4 weeks' time. McGurk celebrates, Tohill celebrates. It's going to be a first ever Derry versus Cork All-Ireland football final. There'll be red and white all over Croke Park on the third Sunday in September. Two great footballing teams will play that day. We saw two terrific Clash of the Titans today. Dublin gave as good as they were getting for so much of this match, but Derry were simply supreme. They kicked ambitious points from play, took their chances from frees, and Derry emerged victorious by just a point. The full-time score here at Croke Park showed Derry the masters, just about. The wheelchairs are in, they're celebrating what is a famous victory. 1958, the last time that Derry won a semi-final. Then they beat Kerry. Now they've beaten Dublin, last year's beaten finalists. I hope you've enjoyed it. We certainly have. And Derry win by a mere point. It's Derry 15 points, Dublin 14. What a match.
Well, Ger Canning, we can assure you that we enjoyed it up here in the presentation box as well. And so incredibly, another of the big D's from Ulster after down in 91, Donegal in 92. And now it's Derry into an All-Ireland final. And all of those supporters are going to go back, very, very happy people, to Lavi and Mahara and places like that up around Derry this evening. A man who's been here with me this afternoon in our presentation box, who has also enjoyed this game, of course, the Donegal manager, Brian McAniff. And Brian, I know that you're as happy for these Derry players as you could be.
It's a great day for the province, it's a great day for the people of Derry, Michael. A superb second half performance when things looked very bad for them at half time. They pulled themselves up by the socks, they dug very deep, and they deserved the win. In fact, I wouldn't have been disappointed if they had won by 3 or 4 more points.
Well, at half-time there were 5 points down, and Dublin came out in the second half. Now, Derry did get the first couple of scores, but Dublin continued to play good football, and they must be bitterly disappointed with the way this has worked out for them, obviously.
Well, I could feel a bit for Dublin, but in saying that, there were too many Dublin players, particularly up front, not functioning. And I mean to say, the Derry half-back line mopped up in the second half, particularly Henry Downey went up and scored 2 great fighting points in the second half when most needed. And then the great point by Johnny McGurk, that deserved to win any match.
Well, the thing about Johnny McGurk's point was that when he got that ball, it wasn't a fluke, he wasn't trying to pass it, he just looked up at the post and he said, well, I'm going to have a go at this.
Yeah, and fair play to him. It was a fine point. He just steadied himself, he put a ball on his left foot, and you knew from it left his left foot that it was going over the bar.
Time and time again in the second half, when Derry were trying to come back, Dublin were kept picking off the points to just keep the distance there, and it needed a big performance by a couple of key players.
I felt that Brian McGilligan and to a lesser extent Anthony Tohol lifted the game there and then from Derry, and once they got back dominating in the middle of the field, Dublin seemed simultaneously to go out. But Jack Sheedy had a disappointing second half and Paul Beelan faded, and Derry rose to the game in the middle of the field, and from that on it was one-way traffic.
Well, during that second half, and particularly the last few minutes when the excitement began to mount, your counterpart, the Derry manager, Eamon Coleman, I was watching him and he was jumping up and down on the sideline. He did everything but actually come in and give a kick to the ball himself.
I can appreciate how Eamon feels, and I'm sorry that I'm not with him in the pitch, but I'll be in the dressing room later on to share in the excitement. But it's a very difficult time to restrain yourself. You want to be out there and you physically can't be out there.
Looking at it from a Dublin point of view, Brian, when they go back and look over this match, where do you think they'll feel they've lost it in that second half?
Well, possibly in the middle of the field. Definitely let us slip in the middle of the field. And the half-back line, which had been so superb in the second quarter of the first half, seemed to tire. Paul Curran wasn't getting his runs in, but I think that Dermot McNichol's introduction there put a lot more pressure on Paul. Keith Barr went out of it, there's no doubt about that there. And Mick Deegan had his hands full.
Well, Brian, thank you very much for joining us here this afternoon at Croke Park. Time for us to leave you at the moment with a reminder, of course, about the Sunday game later on tonight. Want another look at that match? I'd say you do. It's at 8 o'clock. We hope to see you then. But from all of us here in Croke Park this afternoon, bye-bye.
11 and Casement Park we scored 19 points. And today we 14 points of matches.
Derry got 2 good points just after half-time, so that cut into our lead. And then our work rate generally dropped, and gave them the chance to get back on terms with us, and then they got the final score, and that was the one that counted. We had 2 or 3 opportunities to get back into situations where we could have formulated a score, but our passing let us down.
16 minutes to go and we pulled it back to 3 points, and they went up the field and they took a wonderful point again. But when we came within 2, I had the feeling we were going to do it. We had them on the run, and Brian and Anthony was lording it at midfield, and I felt when we came within 2 that we were going to win it.
The loss of Niall Guyden and Tommy Carr have been major disruption to our half-forward plan, which we started out with in January and was working all right until May in the National League final when Tommy Carr was sent off, and then had this rather protracted controversial period of suspension, and Niall Guyden was unfortunate to sustain a training injury when he broke his collarbone. So we feel we lacked the leadership of Tommy and the injection of pace that Niall Guyden can introduce into a half-forward line.
I think probably coming up to the match, maybe there was a scare the Derry team might not adapt to the surroundings and they might choke in an atmosphere like that. But we were told to go out, have a good look around you instead of trying to put it out of your mind. And really, I think the crowd helped there today instead of the reverse effect, putting them off a game.
Colin O'Rourke said, we were talking to him in Meath there 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he said, you know, good players, good teams should relax going into Croke Park, because if you're a good player and you're a good team, you'll play well there, you know. And that's just really what we did, you know, although in the first half we just weren't tuned in. I mean, you can imagine the pandemonium in a small county like Derry whenever they've won an Ulster title and they're on the brink of something really big. They have never tasted success before. I mean, we were just treated like sort of absolute heroes in the county, you know. We were getting onto the bus yesterday, you know, adulation on all sides. And it's very easy to get carried away with yourself, you know, and that's what happened really in the first half. You know, the boys are on cloud 9.
John, that was a terrific winning you scored.
That's right. The ball actually ran wide to the sideline, and I thought if I tried to kick it with my right foot, it wouldn't have went over. So I had to go with my left, and the crowd roar said it all. I don't think I'll dream about another one of those. 1 a year's enough, to be honest.
It's a rare thing, you know. I must say I never thought as a boy that Derry would be in an All-Ireland final, but now it seems to be the most natural thing in the world, you know.
Well, this game had been looked forward to as one of the key matches of this year's championship. Well, it certainly didn't disappoint in terms of sheer excitement and eventual drama. Derry to the All-Ireland final, but Cork people would be wondering to themselves, surely a third Ulster team in a row couldn't go on to lift the Sam Maguire. Well, let's have a look at the statistics from that match. Yep. Now we're joined in studio by Colin O'Rourke, who I'm sure enjoyed that game at Croke Park this afternoon, as we all did. There had been such a build-up to this game, there had been so much expectation of it, and it really did live up to all of that.
Yes, it did. I think that after all the bad things I said about different games over the last few weeks, it's nice to be able to come in and talk about what turned out to be a wonderful, exciting game. And
maybe the first half wasn't absolutely great, but the second half I thought was absolutely brilliantly competitive. Great scores, great pace, great commitment and heart from everybody. And I think if it had the end-up level, few would have complained.
Well, you've done an awful lot of damage to Dublin down through the years in the field of play, and Joe Brolly was revealing there that you've been doing more damage to them now by coaching the Derry team and how to treat the atmosphere and handle the Dubs.
Not really. I don't think Derry need any coaching from anybody. They set about winning the All-Ireland, I think, early on in the year. They've trained very hard and they're a very fit, hardened outfit. And I think both sides today, it was great credit to Mickey Moran of Derry and Fran Ryder of Dublin to have teams so fit, because the second half was played at a really hectic pace from start to finish, and both teams seem to be going just as well at the end as at the beginning of the half. So I think it's great credit to the training that these fellas have done.
Derry had always looked like likely prospects through the championship. They proved their worth today. A great game to win, but from Dublin's point of view, heartbreaking to lose by a single point like that.
Yes, and Dublin in many ways have only themselves to blame. As you mentioned earlier, I think when Dublin look back on this, they'll see that the first 7 or 8 minutes of the game, they lost it. They had 5 wides before they got a score. And what came after then showed that they were capable of kicking very good points in play. Here we have Pat Gilroy kicking a very good point. The first 10 minutes, Dublin kicked in a hurry from very poor positions instead of working the ball in closer. Here we have Charlie Redmond kicking a great point in play. Those 5 wides and the fade out for the last 10 minutes are the main reasons why Dublin lost the game. Dublin had more scoring chances than Derry, and you know, I think that Dublin will be very annoyed with themselves that they didn't at least salvage a draw from it, because I think with 24 scoring chances to Derry's 21, they should have been able to get a draw with that game.
What a great display of fighting spirit by Derry. The 5 points down at half-time. Every time they tried to bridge the gap in the second half, Dublin just pushed it out again, and yet they came back to win the game.
Yes, I suppose halfway through the second half, you've been trying to say, well, you know, Dublin seemed to be able to soak up whatever bit of pressure. They kept at it and kept at it, and they were chasing this game 3 points behind, and then they kept at it. I think that just shows maybe you're now a better hardened outfit to get wide.
But they picked off some great scores as well.
Yes, I suppose if one looks at the game overall, Derry actually seen the better balance and scored better points from play, and we can see several of those points here. The first one here, ball worked right out from defence. Anthony Tuchel with a great ball down to Joe Brolly, who caused a huge amount of problems the second half. Nearly won every ball down that side of the field. Dermot Heaney takes it up. Seamus Downey laying off, good ball all day. And I think character of the Derry side there, a lot of them knowing what their role was. Dermot Heaney letting the ball off to end the Gormley, who's a good point scorer. But this is Dublin's own fault, giving away a point here. You know, a mess up. Joe Brolly could have stuck it in the net, but the score was vital at that stage. But the Dublin backs having that ball and messing it around. Brian McGilligan with a great punch out of the middle of the field. Seamus Downey again letting the ball off quickly. That's what he did all day. Yeah. And Henry Downey, who was really an inspirational figure for Derry, coming up and scoring. A massive level of fitness there evident from Downey as well. Seemed to be up and down the field. And then I suppose, you know, a point that everybody would dream of scoring in Croke Park. John McGurk turns onto his left foot and sticks it over. I'd be very happy now to kick one like that.
Yeah, and interesting that all of Derry's half-backs scored in that game today, and their midfielders, so a good scoring rate down the field.
Yes, 4 points from the half-back line and 3 points from the midfielders. Maybe it's just as well, because their half-hours didn't score at all. 7 points from the team up to the middle of the field. It's not a bad return in a game, but I'm sure Derry would like to see their forwards scoring more.
A word column about the tactics during the afternoon and the substitutions and switches that were made?
Yes, I felt that Derry moved fairly quickly, especially on the position full back there at the beginning, because Danny Quinn was having his hands full with Vinnie Murphy, and it took Tony Scullion maybe 10 minutes to get to grips with Vinnie Murphy, but after that Scullion was really outstanding at full back. And then the Dublin half-back line had become dominant at the end of the first half and the early part of the second half, and bringing in Dermot McNicholl there and Fergal McCusker later on helped to disrupt the Dublin half-backs, and McNicholl made 2 good runs which set up points for Derry as well. So I think on that side of things, the strength of the Derry panel was very evident today.
OK, Colin, well now we come to our man of the match selection. Last week our Gold Watch presentation went to Cork's John O'Driscoll, and our choice from this second All-Ireland football semi-final was Charlie Redmond of Dublin. The Erin's Isle forward scored 8 points in the Dubs cause this afternoon, so some measure of compensation for him in winning our gold watch. And Colm, a word about Charlie Redmond and his contribution today.
Well, a lot of Derry people coming out of the match today wanted to know who was man of the match, and they all, of course, assumed that it was going to be a Derry man. But I think in a game which was as finely balanced as this, could have ended up a draw, could have ended up a 1-point win for Dublin. Charlie Redmond, if Dublin had won, would have been looked on the saviour again, because he was really outstanding. Back blocking down a kick there that Enda Gormley had for a point near the end, up scoring points himself, winning frees, scoring points from play. Charlie gave a great display, and it follows on from a lot of very good displays for the whole year. But Derry probably had 5 or 6 other players who played better than their Dublin counterparts, like Tony Scullion, Henry Downey. I think their midfield took over the last quarter particularly, and Joe Brawley had a great game at right corner forward. So there was a lot of very good Derry men as well.
OK, Colm, we'll be back to you a little bit later on for some phone line reactions. But right now we're going to take a commercial break. Coming up in the next part of the programme.